body, it's the facts we bring, yeah. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, oh, oh. Uncles ting, tis an uncle's ting. Pull up on the body, it's the facts we bring, yeah. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, oh, oh.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unkles Podcast. Today I've got an old friend of mine that's in the Strike Studios. But before we get into it, I thought I'd introduce him to you guys out there. So Jonah's in the building. He's a facilities surveillance engineer at ExxonMobil, current PNG Pukpuks and CRU Grand Final champion with the Valley Hunters. Born and raised in PNG, Jonah's story blends books and boots. From school to university to a professional career in energy while chasing rugby dreams all the way to a Pukpuks debut and a Valley Hunters, of course, premiership last year. Brother, how are you going?
Bro, good. I'm pretty stoked to be here. Thanks for having me. It's been a good journey so far. I'm just ready to share that with everyone here.
Yeah, nice, bro. Thank you for coming in. How was the flight, actually? Because you just landed and came straight to the Uncles.
Yeah, it was a full flight. So I think, we pretty much captured all the seats. There were no empty seats in that flight. Pretty smooth, I'd say. A bit rough, windy, but got here safe, thanks to God. So it should be good.
Yes, nice, bro. And I'm really excited to share your story with everyone out there because I guess, I hadn't really had a lot of opportunity or time with yourself, but we did meet a long time ago back in when we were playing soccer, I think. Under 10s or 11s?
We did a fair bit travel as well.
Yes.
Soccer.
We did some travel there to Fiji.
Yep, Solomon Islands.
Solomon Islands, yeah. Wow, and that time, we were sort of quite young, still figuring out life, but soccer was definitely the main thing. But before we go into that, at the Uncles, we always start off with the word of the week. And that's just a word that sort of explains your last week. It could be something that was sad, angry, happy, whatever it was. But very interested to hear what your word of the week is, bro.
My word of the week would be faith. Faith really resonated with me this week, especially with preparations for the big game we had just yesterday with the Harlequins.
Yeah.
To secure our grand final spot for the second time now. Big history for the club. So faith sort of like stuck with me all throughout the week. We've been big on faith in the club itself. Yeah. Valley Hunters. So that's my word of the week.
Oh, bro, that's an amazing word, and it's true because I see that in everything that the Valley Hunters does, all over the socials, what you guys post, that faith is really shown there, and it's really nice to see that you guys carry that throughout your campaign or your season. So love that word. But bro, next question. Let's take it back to where it all began for you. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in Ley, Morobe province. Grew up there most of my childhood. And then Dad got a job in Port Moresby, and then we had to move over to Pom. But pretty much Ley was home for me. So even like thinking through what I should do after grade 12, I always thought about Unitec, going back home. Right. I've got a lot of family there, a lot of friends there. So Ley is home, and that's where I grew up. That's where the family grew up and started as well.
Oh, that's awesome, bro. And we love to always touch on some of the childhood memories, whether that's your memories at school or for me it was finishing school, then going back to Gordon's 5 where we lived at that time, and all the boys used to play at the National Library. There was a little field there, and we used to go play touch there, kick the footy around, and that was what shaped my childhood memories and probably what started my passion of playing rugby, and that's where it sort of started. So look, what were some of your childhood memories in Ley but also in Moresby when you moved over?
Starting in Ley, I grew up in a rugby family, I would say. Dad used to play rugby for the Unitec Reds when he was in uni. I had my uncles from my mom's side, they were into rugby as well, playing for I think the Northern Reds at the time in Ley. And I used to just follow them to the field, kick the ball around, like what you said there. But just pretty much grew up in that rugby environment, especially the field. Yeah. So I would always look forward to the weekend, aside from, school, going to the weekend and watching my uncles play, watching my dad play. And it was really, really good. Moving over to Port Moresby as well, that sort of shifted a bit due to my group of friends. So I played more of the soccer at Boroko East, because school soccer at the time was like it. So we used to play, the likes of Tamis and Living Light. And
Oh.
And Mr. Taylor Wayne Taylor really ran a good tournament for the kids, and just to get the kids involved. So that was my weekend pastime with the boys from school, like earlier on, like primary. Just like I grew up around sports. I've always loved sports, and that was my escape, I guess, without knowing from an early age.
No, I think a lot of people can relate with you. I know I can, because sports sort of, gave me an outlet to like express myself, but also it just, like what we said earlier on, it gave us the opportunity to do a bit of travel. At the time, you mentioned Wayne Taylor, Mr. Taylor, he was looking after the competition at the time, plus POM SOE, which was, that's quite an institution. I remember we had Aidan Toa on, and he spoke about POM SOE back in his day when he was coming up. So
I didn't know that.
So POM SOE has been around for a while, and a lot of athletes have come through that system, and that's what took us to Fiji, then on to Solomon Islands. And I remember you're probably one of the youngest
at the time.
You were the youngest in our team, actually, which is crazy to think. But we had our whole team was stacked with really good players.
David Brown.
David Brown was probably our best player. He's professional soccer player now over in Europe, and you had the likes of Alwyn come along, and who's the captain now for PNG Soccer, and so many good athletes came from that. But what were your some of those highlights for you when we were traveling?
Like travel for me at the time growing up, I only knew Ley, Rabaul, where I'm from, and Port Moresby. Didn't know like what was out there outside of PNG. So those trips really gave me an opportunity to see different cultures. Like we went to Numia back in under 12. And then off the back of that Numia trip, we did the Solomon Islands trip. Like I never knew I could fly that far, just thinking about the domestic trips that I would always have to go back for holidays back at home. Like those ones for me were some of the moments that I'll always cherish. Because like even today, I haven't been to any one of those places again, but I can say that I've been there. And then with a group of friends as well that we travel together, like they sort of keep you company. And then you learn a lot from like each individual that sort of rocks up for training. And then you get to learn like more things like outside of the sport itself, aside from the culture, values like discipline, you want to do your best so that you get selected, so you work hard, And at the early age, like when you start doing these things, they go like miles and miles, like in your career or whatever it is that you want to pursue, right? So I think for me, those were some of those moments that sort of really helped build the foundation for me as I was sort of coming up in my upbringing through school as well. And I guess like some of those values, applying it at school, like just discipline in doing homework. Like no one likes to do homework, but do those things right, and then you go places.
100%, bro. And I just had a funny memory when you mentioned Solomon Islands. I remember the Lawson Tama was
that's a stadium,
the field we played on, and oh man, if you haven't been to Solomon Islands, that was, as young boys, we were amazed with this ground that they had. The grass was like immaculate, so beautiful, pristine. They looked after it well. But I remember the one night, I think we played Solomon Islands, and there were so many frogs on the field.
Oh yeah, we missed the ball and kicked the frogs. I remember that.
And then I remember I passed the ball to Mario.
Oh yeah.
And he missed the ball, but he kicked the frog, and the frog went into the grandstand. So I mean, there were so many funny moments that we had over there, but it really, as you said, brought us closer.
Yep.
Plus, it also developed, I think, a competitive edge between all of us. You were the youngest, so I mean, you were up against us.
Yeah,
literally.
trying to compete for sports,
Yeah. Compete for spots. And we had, David Brown, guys like Vagi, all of those really good players from Living Light, and it was really competitive. Alwyn. So it was just at training, the standard was pretty high.
Oh yeah. Like each individual, because of how talented they were, like it sort of pushed you. Like you rubbed off that energy, like big time. Like you needed to move, like pull up your socks, play your best.
Yeah.
Because like sports are really tough,
Yeah.
Like, you can't just get a trip, right, to a place like this. It costs money.
Yes.
Right? So they want to bring like the best folks, and then hence you have to go through all that rigorous training, just to get selected. Yeah.
And what about high school for you? Because obviously, when you got to POM, you were at Boroko East.
Yep.
And then from there, where did you go?
Yeah. So from Boroko East, I moved over to Koroboro, Korobose International. Was still playing soccer during that time up till grade 8, and then after grade 8, went to POMIS.
Yes.
And then that's where my rugby really kicked off at POMIS. That's where it all started for me, and it was a way for me to reconnect again with my childhood sort of upbringing, the rugby one. And, it just went off from then onwards, like just starting off on the wings and then slowly making my way to the middle, like the fly half after grade 12, and then going on from there to uni. But high school was a good time just to experience a lot of those different things like sport in general. As well as, you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do next? It's at the transition point for me. It's like a transition point where, okay, do I want to pursue a career in being a lawyer or being a pilot? Or, you start to ask those type of questions.
Yes.
9 and 10, you'll have an idea about it. But 11 and 12, you got to seriously lean into, okay, what is it going to be? Right, and what really helped during that time as well was we had career talks, and one career talk that's always gonna stick with me was a guy called Henry Elias, and he's today the Valiantas president.
Wow!
But at the time, in his capacity as he was like an engineer with now it's called Pacific Energy. They do the refueling for aircrafts at Jackson's International Airport and domestic as well.
Yeah.
But he stood up there and he just presented about his life. He's my uncle, by the way.
Okay.
And I was sitting there in the crowd and just listening to his story. Like, back then, around that time, they were folks that had to come from the village system, like through primary school and all that, and then come to the city and then to universities like Lay Unitec.
Yeah.
He was a mechanical engineer. So I was just sitting in the crowd amongst all my other peers, and I really reflected during that time. I was like, okay, maybe that's what I want to do. Like, because I was already taking sciences at the time, so it was a lot of figuring out, like in high school.
Yes.
And so I leaned in more towards that mechanical engineer sort of role that I saw he was sharing about, and I saw sort of myself in his shoes at some stage.
Yeah.
But because I also at the time had a really big passion of being a pilot as well. So I was like, okay, maybe that's my foot in the door. I do that first, and then I do the other step. Okay. But high school was, for me, like big transition phase, figuring out, okay, what's after high school? What type of job am I looking at, trying to do? And then all of that just all combined together.
That's so awesome. And I just want to know, because not a lot of kids, have that moment in high school where they're actually thinking about what they want to do. Were your parents, did they play a massive role in helping you sort of ask that question, identify that, and then, go down that path?
Yes, I would say strongly on my dad's side. My dad really wanted me to pursue either two things, being a pilot or being a mechanical engineer or an engineer in general. So when he came to me with those two ultimatums at the time, PNG culture, parents, they always tell you, hey, you gotta be this, you gotta be that.
Yes, yeah.
So I took it on as a challenge as well for me. And it was sort of in my area of interest as well, as I was coming through high school and learning. And so, Dad had a really big role in nudging me towards taking on mechanical engineering and lining that up with sort of my ambition of becoming a pilot at the end of the day. Just a lot of help and assistance from my parents to sort of get to that stage. I think, I owe them a lot today because of sort of how they sort of brought me up in teaching me the right values and in teaching me about discipline. You get really disciplined if you misbehave in Papua New Guinea. So I learned that the hard way. But it's for the best, I guess. And I guess, I'm very happy today because of how I was raised.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. And going from there, you go into university.
Yep.
You said earlier on you thought about going back to Lay Unitec. What decision did you make after finishing high school?
Yep. So I ended up in my school levels form. I put mechanical engineer because you get 3 picks at the time in grade 12. So I put mechanical engineer, and then I made sure the other 2 picks after mechanical engineer was something that I wouldn't see myself doing.
Okay.
Right. So that's a very risky thing to do. I wouldn't encourage anyone to do that. But for me, that was how focused I wanted it.
Okay.
So it was like, hey, look, do you really want to do 2 and 3 or is 1 for you? Because I made it look like, okay, no, I can't do 2 and 3.
Yeah,
I actually can't. So I have to get 1, Yeah. And so that was, to me at the time, what really gave me the drive. And then I'm a big believer of like manifestation as well. You believe in something, you really have to visualize it.
Yes.
And I was sitting in my grade 12 class, my physics teacher, Mrs. Tamanas at POMIS, she would do the intros, like how to get the class started, but I would visualize a rain tree outside of the classroom, the science classroom. And because I grew up in Lay, I knew those similar rain trees were in Lay.
Yeah.
And I would just spend like a minute or two just looking at the tree and saying, that's the tree I want to sit at in Unitec. I would do that. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I would do that until I get goosebumps.
Yeah, wow.
And then I knew like, okay, I got to really, lean into this. This class, this time now, this period will really get me in that direction.
Yeah, wow. Oh, bro, you're giving me goosebumps now. But tell us about, your experience at university. But also, getting into that sort of degree at university, it wouldn't have been easy for you. I can imagine there would have been a lot of, long nights of study and hard work, and you obviously put that in because you qualified, went to uni, and now you are where you're at. So look, give us an insight into, that study, that drive, that hard work, but also, how you managed it through university. Yeah,
I guess I'll start off by saying that, going to university, especially in Unitec, was for me the first time stepping away from home. Because I've never been to boarding school like growing up. I was always at home with mom and dad. But for me, that was a leap of faith in itself because I wasn't used to that. So you can imagine like there's a lot of, peer pressure that happens at that level as well. But I guess the key component that sort of kept my foot grounded was just appreciating the fact that, my parents had to really invest in me to get to that stage. Once you have that appreciation in mind, like you could never go wrong because you know that you owe them something. And because you're there not just by your own merit entirely, because at some stage they prepped you up to make it to uni. So I went in there with a lot of gratitude. And I knew that I had a job to do, which is to make them happy at the end of the day by completing my 4-year degree. And then it always starts with, okay, how do you find your feet, especially in a new environment? again, coming to sports as, I guess, the key aspect of that, I joined the Unitec Rugby Union club, which my dad used to play for back in the day. So I joined that club, and I met a group of friends who were all sort of driven, motivated, had the similar values as I did, and then it was a good way of bridging us first years against final years, because there's a big division.
Yes. Okay.
And it was a way of saying, okay, I know these senior boys, they've got my back. If anything happens in school, like I know they'll protect me. And then 2016, when we joined, it was a rough time for the school itself. There was a lot of issues that universities, both PNG and Unitec, wanted to resolve from a student representative council standpoint. And then we ended up in a lot of, not showing up to classes, boycotting and all of that. So it was a struggle to just get started, and a lot of issues that happened after that. But, a show of resilience from the university as well, to sort of bring the students back after everything sort of turned in the opposite direction, like the mess went on fire. We had a lot of issues. And we thought that the year was ended, but then they called us all back to continue on our first year of studies. But yeah, Unitec Reds really gave me that home away from home. So I had all the boys there that supported me, and then they had my back. And, finishing classes, you can have like a full entire 6 to 8 periods of just studies and classes, but then your escape is rugby, right?
Yeah.
you sort of unwind with that.
Yes.
So that it's finding a rhythm, I would say. Once you find a rhythm between, your rugby, whether it be church or whatever extracurricular activity you do aside from work and school, you sort of get into that rhythm, and then everything else is just like results driven and success after that. You'll be surprised. But I think during that time, I also recognized that, I wasn't going to do it by my own strength. Growing up in a Christian family as well, keeping God at the center, you can never go wrong. And so that was probably some of those foundation things that I can remember during that time, and that helped me across that line. And then some other opportunities that, came about during my time that I know we'll get into it when you ask the questions about it. But those were some of those experiences that I guess I built, that built me to be successful, I'd say.
Yeah, I like that word, rhythm, getting into your rhythm, because I feel like a lot of the time we talk about here on the podcast is routine, and having a really good routine, because for three of us, when we were doing our early episodes, we sort of identified that at periods in our lives where we sort of tended to go off the rails or got a bit sidetracked was because we didn't have a good routine, or we got out of our routine. So when you start to do that, then you start to lose focus, lose sight of your goals, all of that. So it's really nice to hear that, what made you have a balanced lifestyle was keeping that rhythm and keeping that flow. You sound like you were very well driven with what you wanted, and obviously you got there because after graduating university, I'm sure you would have been really happy, and your parents would have been really happy, but you also landed a job at ExxonMobil, which is one of the biggest companies in the world. So tell us about graduating uni and then moving on from there to Exxon.
Yeah, so I'll take us a step back. In second year, we needed to do industrial in order to graduate final year of like mechanical engineering. So I was thinking, okay, what opportunities out there that I can apply for? So I get some industrial training done. And then behold, ExxonMobil came to the campus and they did a career talk. And I was sitting there amongst the crowd. And then I was inspired somewhat, seeing some national engineers standing up in front and just speaking.
Wow.
They had a lot of, power in their voice. And I was just blown away by that. And I gave it a shot, you know what I mean? And, at the time I was thinking, I might not get the gig. Someone smarter than me in the class might get the position, I might not. But I gave it a shot. That's what mattered. Yes. And I remember before that first interview, my first ever interview for the internship, I sat in my room. I said, okay, I was in second year, I haven't done anything mechanically, like open up an engine or something. So if they ask me anything about engines, I'll just probably fail that question. So what I did was, there's this small fence that we have in the room, like you just switch it on and you can press numbers and it spins.
Yeah. Okay.
I got a knife and I actually removed all the screws from that, broke it apart, and then I put everything back again. I pressed the switch, it spun, and I was like, okay, if I want to get a question in the next 5 minutes about something hands-on that I did, I'll just talk about this experience. And then I went there and it was nothing like that. They didn't even ask me anything to do with the hands-on work that I had to do.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you have here on your CV like rugby. What type of values do you think you learned from rugby?
Wow.
And then for me, I was like, oh, that's easy. Communication, teamwork. And I was sort of speaking their language at that time based on those like extracurricular things that I did outside that sort of helped broaden my understanding outside of the engineering classes we were doing. And then there was a question. The HR lady had asked, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And without even thinking, I answered, I see myself, gaining the knowledge from this great company, and then going back to my community in Eastern Britain and try to do something in my capacity. Wow. I came out and asked my mate who also went in before me, how he answered that question, and it was more related to like, maybe going up the ranks, being a lead and a supervisor, and then onwards in the company. Yeah. And I was like, okay, you probably have the job, because this is how I answered it. But at the end of the day, they got me for that internship. It was a 3-month internship. My first one, I was with the integrity team, the integrity engineering team. Did that, came back to school again, third year. They called me up for another internship, so it was my second internship. Yep. And then in final year, earlier on April Fool's Day, I get a call from the supervisor, the engineering supervisor, and he goes, hey, I'm calling to give you a job offer. And I was like, wait, the year hasn't ended yet. I haven't successfully completed final year. Yeah. Are you sure? And then he was like, no, we're serious about it. We want to get you back for this machinery engineer role, graduate. And it was April Fool's Day. And I was like, okay, maybe this might be a joke. So I accepted it and I called another mate and I confirmed with him that, okay, they want to give you that job. And then I was like, wow. All I had to do was pass at the end of the year. Yeah. And I reached a point where I had asked one of my mentors at the time, his name is Joshua Cialis, asked him, hey, look, my passion is to become a pilot. I chose mechanical engineer because I wanted to be a pilot. Yeah. But now this oil and gas company wants to get me to be a machinery engineer, and he asks me a question. And that was when he was part of the Voice Inc. Clean Generation campaign.
Yes, okay.
And he goes, okay, what do you like to do? And I was like, I like to speak to people, present, be able to communicate what I find, with the team. And then he was like, okay, see yourself as a pilot, do you think you'll do a lot of that? And I was like, maybe not a lot of it. Yeah. And then he goes, okay, what about this machinery role? And I was like, I did 2 internships and we were doing that pretty much all the time. Yeah. And then he was like, that's pretty much your answer, bro.
Yeah, wow.
And then I was at peace.
Yes.
I was at peace. I took the offer. Graduated in 2020, also started on February 10th as a new graduate engineer with some of my friends, also from uni. We all started together. And 5 years has gone by. I'm looking forward to my 6th year. I've transitioned through different roles within my 5-year machinery role through different parts of the organization. And today they've given me an opportunity to expand my level of influence from an individual contributor to now a lead. So I'm a technical lead. I'm leading a team, and it's been a journey. I'm always grateful to God for His blessing, and just taking it one day at a time. And pretty much like after joining the company, all those doors for training opportunities like travel and all of that sort of came with it, and I've just been grateful.
right. Sorry, guys. We had a bit of a technical difficulty there. One of the cameras died, but we were talking here with Jonah about his graduation experience, and we were just about to go into landing his role with ExxonMobil. So, bro, take us into that. What was the feeling like when you had a few opportunities with them before, but then actually going full time in the office with them?
Yeah, it was surreal, mainly because like you've been through uni, but they never prepare you for the corporate world.
Yeah.
And when you walk into the gates of a corporate company like ExxonMobil, there's so much, right? There's so much to learn that's given to you like as an opportunity. And when I started off as a machinery engineer graduate, they didn't waste any time in giving me my first ever projects and which system I was looking after.
Wow.
And, they were like, okay, you're going to be looking after the gas turbine generators. And I was like, what? Are you sure? Like I just came out of, I just graduated, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like the support is there, so they know, and they're a great company that will put you out there to swim in the deep end, and that's how you learn the best. And they also give you the resources and support that you need to be successful at that role.
Yes.
I learned that earlier on, and also we had a lot of really good senior engineers that helped, Papua New Guineans that helped to mentor us as we were coming through the ranks and guide us throughout. And we have a really good and strong operations and maintenance team. So engineering, we are like the support function for both operations and maintenance that sort of run the day-to-day activities. Yeah. There was a lot of opportunities for learning and growth that came with it. Had opportunities to travel to conferences. At the time we joined was in 2020, so it was COVID pandemic.
Wow.
So most of the trainings where we would have traveled for, we had to do it online over Zoom.
Yeah.
But then once COVID sort of died down, we were able to do a bit of traveling again. I attended some conferences, did some factory acceptance tests, just be part of the projects, teams for some of the projects on site, and being able to come to Australia and do some work here, and then going back to Malaysia and some other really good places to see engineering at its full strength, and then being able to also learn from that as well and sort of bring it back to your day-to-day job. So I did 5 years in the machinery team. And then after that 5 years, I transitioned to my new lead role today, which is the facility surveillance engineer for the Heights gas conditioning plant in Heights, Tari. So I'm there now doing 4 weeks on and 4 weeks off.
Wow.
As a rotator. But yeah, it's been a really good journey, really grateful for it. And I'm just continuing to learn every day.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing, bro. And I just want to say, congrats on everything that you've gone through. You obviously deserve everything that's come your way, because, I remember you were always well-mannered, the youngest boy in our team. Back in those days, not so little anymore though. Like this guy's way bigger than me now. So, so good to see you doing really well.
Thanks.
But let's get into the fun stuff, because I love rugby union. Played rugby union, and obviously I said at the start, guys, that Jonah found himself playing rugby union after we had our soccer tours and that, and then debuted for the PNG Pukpuks, but also won, I'd say, probably one of the best grand final runs last year with the Valley Hunters. So, but take us back to, because you mentioned you were at Unitec playing there, and then so when you moved to Mosby, where did you start your footy then?
So Unitec Reds as well, we had sort of broken a big drought of like no success in winning a premiership until the, I think, 2016, 2017 timeframe, when I was in second or third year. The group of men at the time, Unitec Reds, we had gone all the way, and then we won the Morobe Rugby Union premiership for the very first time in so long. So it was a great achievement, at Unitec. And then, coming back to POM for work now, I found myself back at the Valley Hunters, which is where everything started for me for rugby.
Yes.
And, we had a really rough start, I guess, for when I first joined. It's been years after years that we actually didn't make top 4. We've sort of come shy at least a year, but then all the other years we were sort of at the bottom end, trying to find our feet. But everything changed last year when we had Coach Frank Genia come into the mix with his family, as well as some of the big boys from defense as well who came by, like Jordan Saladi,
Yes.
and his group of boys, and it sort of inspired the hope that we needed, especially for some of us who stayed around with Valley Hunters.
Yeah.
And closing off the season in 2023, we had our last game of the season and we had lost again. We didn't win any game at all.
Oh.
And Jediah Katal and I, we were the captains at the time.
Yes.
We stood in front of the guys and we told them, hey, look, we don't know what's coming next year, which was last year. But if you really believe in faith and you really believe in this club, you will show up again. And last year when we all started, JCL Tilto, Jed, myself, John Tekwi, we had come together as the leaders at the time of the club, and we were like, hey guys, how do we strategize? How do we make this year different from the rest of the other years? And my thinking at the time was, okay, we need to set goals, right? We need to have goals, so everyone's sort of trying to work towards something. And to be honest, starting off preseason, we didn't have the numbers at all to even form a premier team.
Wow,
and I was
really?
starting to lose hope. I was really starting to lose hope at that point. But then, coming back to like what I said about folks like Coach Frank Genia who, believed in the club, and they kept their word to Coach Max Katal, who had reached out to him and said, look, we need your help, and if you're free, please come and join our club. And we needed a coach at the time. And so when he came over, he brought with him, his understanding of the game.
Yeah.
But he just, I think more so taught us just to believe, Even though we didn't have the players at the time when he arrived, the guys started to trickle in like one by one. And we had built a premier men's squad. Of the 2024 season start, we lost a couple of games. But that was because we were sort of a new group of guys sort of coming together, trying to figure out each other's game.
Yeah.
And then mid-season, it was when we sort of reached our break-even point and we started to actually win games. And then the belief grew from that point onwards. And we came like a rolling, thunder just coming through and just... We were surprising a lot of the teams, a lot of the big teams. And we literally just made it all the way through the finals. And, looking back at that journey in general, we owe a lot to our mother and father of the club, which is Mums Dora and Pops Max, Jed's parents.
Yes.
Because, they never stopped praying for the club. And that's probably the secret. They never stopped praying even though we didn't win a game whole season. They never stopped praying even when we had one draw in the whole season. We kept that rhythm. And that rhythm was, committing everything back to God. And that's stands at, front and center for the club today. Our club motto is like Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which gives me the strength to be a good player and a good person. And that's where Mums Dora and Pops Max sort of came in, was to try to mold us in that good person perspective. And Coach Frank came and taught us how to be a good player. And when those two sort of combined together, man, like it was scary good. And I was at the forefront with my other brothers in the club. And we saw just how all of that unfolded in front of us. Just the hunger for guys just showing up, training. We would train late into the nights. Coach Frank would, really give us a hard time running our laps through. But, it was all because we had a belief again in the club. And what we had encouraged ourselves coming through the whole of last year was, us showing up at training Monday, Wednesday, Friday at Pomis was us, filling in our timesheets. Because on the weekend, that's when we get paid.
Yes.
When you win games, that's when you get paid. And we stuck with that right throughout till the very end. And then we came up, on top. It was just mind-blowing how everything sort of transitioned in just 1 year, one season.
Oh man, it was so nice to watch. I mean, obviously we were looking at it from here or outside in, but just to see where you guys came from, as you said, from the start of the season, not winning any games to sort of gelling together and learning from each other, and then finding that motivation which got you home in the end. Like, wow, what a story. And
it's crazy.
Was there a highlight or one moment in the season that is a standout for you?
I would say we had a family event for the club, which is what stood out to me the most, because that's what the club is. It's all about family at the end of the day. The rugby is just a result. It's what you get out of showing up and training, the values, the discipline, the commitment, all of that. Rugby is just a medium at the end of the day. And, coming and, combining with all the guys, and we had this family event up at it's Jordan Saladi's wife's place, Jay's Cafe.
Yes.
So we had, it was almost like a retreat, but we had fun games. We invited our family along, and just standing there, and it was leading up into the finals, and seeing like all the guys and how happy they were. It gave a lot of us like that fulfillment. Like that's what it's all about. It's all about families coming together, everyone enjoying themselves, getting to know each other, what each other, like each person does, and then all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And, that took our mind away from, just winning games and trying to, be our best athlete as possible. But it sort of grounded us in the fact that, look, it's at the end of the day, it's about the family and the values you get from rugby that you bring back to your family and the community.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And I know you spoke about Jed's dad there, but I remember when I had the opportunity to meet the great man, and before we were going to Hong Kong, plus after when we got back as well, because Jed played 12 in off the bench for the first 2 games, but then he was 12 in the last game against Zimbabwe. But got to meet his dad, and you can just tell how much he loves the club, but also how much of a great man he is, because when I sort of spoke to him, like he's very softly spoken, but you can tell that he means well, and he's very respected. So that's so good to hear that he's still, a driving force for you guys. But also Frank Genia, who I think he's one of the best coaches in PNG, I'd have to say. He played a big part in when we went to Hong Kong. Right. He called a lot of the shots, whether it was the backline moves or line out plays, scrum decisions, anything like that. And he's, I'd have to say, a real mastermind, like a tactician when it comes to rugby union. So, as you said, you put those 2 guys together, and the team will do wonders. So definitely. Really happy to hear that.
Yep.
Now you move forward now, just to make sure, did you make your debut for PNG? Was it before last season, or would have been?
It was. It was the Oceania Cup, and we played in Bomb.
Yes.
Aiden was supposed to play, but things didn't work out.
Yes.
But yes, that was my debut. Surreal moment.
Yeah. How was that feeling?
Oh, like I was tearing up the whole, walk through the tunnel and out into the field, because I remembered my uncles that used to play for the Pukpuks before, and those folks that you look up to that also wore that great jersey, and it was just a surreal moment for me. And just looking up into the stands and seeing my parents as well, really brought everything home, and it was like that's what it's all about, to see them see you represent the country. It's some stage in your life. And then like everyone from my engineering department at Exxon as well, they all came, and they all at the stands. So they were cheering me on, like at work as well, and I got that hype all over the place during that time. But it was just like, like you would have felt the same as well, right? Like just next level.
It's one of the best feelings in the world. Like you said, when you're standing there, the national anthem comes on, then, you know, you're looking at your mom and dad, and those are the moments where it's just like, you know, give it all back to them. They're the ones who, you know, push you to train and drive you to training and do all of this while, you know, we're probably carrying on a little bit when we're younger and asking for this and that, but they're actually, you know, doing all the hard work. So moments like that are just really special moments. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys went on to win that one, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did,
Yeah. How was the journey, the tournament?
The tournament was good. We had a good build up into it. All the guys were sort of like, you know, just looking forward to wear the jersey. At the end of the day, it was all about that pride for your country. And, you know, regardless of whatever was happening on the outside, we just wanted to play the rugby, you know. We were there for the rugby, and that rugby gave us the opportunity to wear the jersey, don the PNG colors and represent the country at that stage. And yeah, we really had a good time. And then that sort of built on to other opportunities that came after that, like the Hong Kong 10 trip.
Yes, that's
we
right.
went along to last year. And there was another opportunity again to see a different style of rugby. Because for the most part, every rep duty that I did was back at home, like in PNG.
Yeah.
But this was my first offshore one.
Yes.
Going with, you know, Eugene Tokavai and Jonah Kautu and, you know, all the big boys. And just being able to play at that stage was just remarkable. Yeah. Definitely.
And Hong Kong's one of the best cities to visit too. I when we were there, I really had fun just sort of going around, you know, seeing the sights, and it would have been an experience for you guys as well.
Culture shock for some of us, like first time for the guys to go to that part of like Asia. That was really good. Yeah. You know, trying out different foods and seeing different places.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And look, I know during that, sort of after that time as well, there was an announcement from World Rugby that you know, PNG Rugby had to step away for a few years and not you know, enter into any tournaments. So like me looking back at it, someone who formerly played for the Pukpuks and was involved in that way, just as a person who's no longer there but looking outside in, you know, I was quite sad by it, and I was a bit confused, but obviously I didn't have all the details at the time. But like I'm pretty, I guess, interested to know what or how you would have felt as a current player, plus, you know, one of the leaders in the team. How did you feel about that decision?
Yeah, I think you said it really well. Like sad, you know, was what I felt at the time when I saw that announcement, and I was sad because, like, it sort of closed a lot of doors in giving opportunities for, you know, the guys to be able to represent their country in the sport that they love to play, which is Rugby Union, and that was no longer going to happen, even at the Oceania stage. So it was pretty tough. It's like you're questioning yourself. Okay, like, I'm playing in this town competition now, but what for? You know?
Yeah.
And a lot of the kids today, they're feeling that, you know, like, what's after CRU or MRFU, you know? Like, I won't have any opportunity now to represent my country, even at the Oceania or outside. And that's pretty tough when you look at, like, a lot of young kids who have hopes and dreams to wear the Pukpuks colors. You know? And like, they won't have that realization anymore because of this circumstance.
Yeah.
And it's pretty tough. I mean, I just can't, you know, I'm not really happy about what had happened, but at the end of the day, you know, reps to people like Corey Chen and you know, all the guys who still believe in the game, that they're actually running competitions, you know. Like the fact that we have something to do over the weekends, which is Rugby Union. It's given a lot of hope to folks. And I really liked the platform last year when, you know, we finished the CRU competition formally, and then there was the Boromas, you know, rap opportunity that we had, and they had organized the game with, you know, Morobe, and we played at the NFS Stadium. Like, at least you had something to play for after the normal competition was done.
Yeah.
And, you know, those type of opportunities are not easy to put together.
No.
You know, especially with the current state of our country, but leadership from folks like Corey and the team. Today, it's what's giving hope to the kids. Like folks coming through under 20, they can go play Premier and at least they can rep Boromas.
Yeah, hats off to Corey and what he's done with the CRU. Just as a spectator looking at it from here, it's amazing what he's done there. And as you said, keeping that dream alive, that hope alive for our young guys that come through, but also giving. He could have easily just gone, I don't want to do anything, and then no one plays Rugby Union in Port Moresby, because that would make sense, right? Because ultimately the leaders in the PNG Rugby have let everyone else down. So then why should I do this? Why should I have CRU running? But he's done it out of his own goodness, because I know Corey. He's a great man, and he loves the sport. He loves the code, and he wants to see us young guys, keep playing and keep going at it. So, no, it's really, really good to see. And hopefully, when that ban is lifted, then we can get back on the world stage and show everyone, who PNG is. Yeah. But look, what's sort of next for you? I know I spoke a bit there about my hope for PNG Rugby, but what would you like to see in the future once that ban is lifted?
I guess for me would be more emphasis on the grassroots rugby system, and probably like younger divisions. There's been talks like even today, like folks at work who have small kids at Temis, and they're asking me like, is there a division for like under 12s, like rugby? We don't have that, you know what I mean? Like the lowest you can play is under 20.
Yeah.
Right. But I would like to see, I think, that sort of put together, have like a younger division, like what's been done here in Australia. And then you sort of create that foundation, right? And that's your platform for it. Like we can't keep focusing on our team that's gonna lead us, like Premier team, like we can today, but what's going to keep the sport going is the ones that are coming through the system.
Yes.
And you want to start early. And then probably something around that space, like building a competition around just kids in primary schools and even lower than that would be probably the thing I'd like to see. Yeah.
Oh, I love that idea. And, hopefully, I'm sure when the time comes, I think, we'll be in a good position to, maybe we can lead that. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen at that stage? But I'm very keen to get involved, because ultimately that'll shape the next generation of Pukpuks that come through. So, look, bro, we're getting to the end of it. We've
it's been a great session.
We've had a great chat. But look, to finish off, we always ask our guests on the Uncles, what sort of advice would you give to the next generation, if there's any advice you have for them?
My advice would be to dream. When you have a dream, you'll do everything in your power to achieve that dream. And I feel like, for me, going through my own personal circumstance, like if I didn't dream, I wouldn't be where I am today. And dreaming about representing the country, dreaming about doing something in engineering, dreaming about traveling the world, and then going through sports and even work to sort of bridge that gap. It's what gives hope, right? At the end of the day, that's what we need, just a bit of hope, right? Otherwise, everyone sort of be dead and just give up and let's make on to something, the kind of same. So it's like you gotta have those two things, like just dream and have hope, and that's what I'd like to encourage all the young ones out there, or folks listening in on the podcast, to just dream, have hope, and believe in yourself.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, brother. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for coming on to the Uncles Podcast. And I'm sure many of our listeners out there would have learned something from our episode today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Cheers, brother.